All right, Boker Tov, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Yes? Awesome. I see some thumbs up here. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dan Tater. I'm with the I Center. We are the North American hub for Israel education. So this is a perfect example of how we try to be as many places as possible. We have people here from Dallas. Woo! Yeah, I'm here for the day with Akiba here, and we have Levine on the call as well. We have a group here from West Hartford, Connecticut, Chicago. We have rabbis and just people who are interested with synagogues and schools. We even have people as far as Japan. So we're so excited that everyone's here, and it's a perfect example of how exciting this is. There are only 3 countries that have landed on the moon before. We have Russia, yeah, USSR. Who's another one? USA and China. Yes. Amazing. 3 countries have already been to the moon. It has captured the attention of everybody. For decades, people have sat in front of their TVs, in front of their radios, now on the internet, watching these countries leave a very good planet and go somewhere else. And now it's Israel's turn, and we are all going to be a part of this. And what's more exciting here is the person I'm going to introduce here. We were so lucky to meet his father at the launch. And of course, as any proud father is, he talked about his son, Nir. Now, Nir, just a couple years ago, was just like many of the people here in this room and many of you out there in a classroom just like this. Now he's 23, and it is his job. Well, you'll hear about it. He's probably staying up late at night as we all prepare for the landing, because that's his job, to be responsible for the landing of Beresheet. I'm going to share with you a quick video and then pass it over to him. As a reminder, if you wouldn't mind going on mute so that we can all hear and see Nir.
Автоматическая межпланетная станция готова к старту. Мы начинаем обратный отсчет. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance internal. 12. 11. 10. 10. 9.
And with that, I hope you will please, again, remember to go on mute. We'll get to as many questions as we can. You've already submitted some. And if we have time, we'll do it here as well. Please welcome Dallas. Let me hear you. Everyone out there, let me hear you. Welcome, Nir.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you very much, Dan. I'm very excited to be here. So my name is Nir Amitai, and I work and volunteer in SpaceIL. So whoever, I believe you're all familiar with SpaceIL, but whoever that is not yet familiar, then SpaceIL is an Israeli organization that's going to land the first Israeli spacecraft on the moon. I'll just share with you presentation. Can you all see the presentation? Thumbs up, down? Great. So we're about to make history and land the first Israeli spacecraft on the moon. And it's sooner than you think. The landing is going to be at the April 11, 2019, which is a week and a day from now. So we have a time gap of a little bit less than 30 minutes, and we will try to squeeze in 4 parts. The first part of our talk is going to be, we'll talk about the technological mission and how we're about to achieve this amazing goal. The second part is I'll talk about my part in this whole project. The third part is I'll talk about our educational mission. And the last part, we'll open it up for some Q&A. So let's start. So what is it about the moon that kept humanity occupied since dawn of humanity, actually, We've all had many beliefs about it, whether it's ancient Greek or maybe the ancient Egyptians. And even in Judaism, we have each month our Birkat HaLevana that we say. But today, with modern technology, we can say empiric things about the moon. We can say scientific things. So what can we say? So first of all, the moon is really, really far. It has a temperature range that are very extreme, that go from 260 degrees Fahrenheit at daytime to minus 240 at nighttime. It has a diameter of a quarter of Earth's. There is no water and no air, which is the main reason we are not sent to the moon right now. People do not live on the moon right now. That's the main reason yet. One moon day is 28 Earth days, which is a month. And if I would be sent right now to the moon, then I would experience one sunrise and one sunset while you all have experienced about 28. The gravity of the moon is only a sixth, so I would be much, much lighter up there. And we have mountain and crates that are very extreme. We have crates that are lower than the Dead Sea, and we have mountains that are higher than the Himalayas and higher than the Everest. If I would take Earth and make it smaller to about this soccer ball, so the moon would be approximately the size of a ping pong ball. And if I would have asked you to put the moon at the right distance from the Earth in this in these sizes, then most of you would put it somewhere over here. Maybe a little bit farther, maybe a bit closer. But the actual size in this magnitude is a length of 6 meters, which is about 20 feet. I don't have enough room in this room to fit this model. So now that we can have a perception of how great the distance is and how great the challenge is, let's talk for a brief moment about who succeeded in that mission. So as you all said in Dallas, that was very good. The first ones were the Soviet Union, landed with Luna 9 in '66. 3 years later, the Americans. Then we have lots of time where nobody new gets to the moon until the Chinese break that with their Chang 3 probe, which is unmanned, just like our spacecraft, our Beresheet spacecraft. And after that, nonetheless, small Israel, which is joining a unique or exclusive club that until now had only superpowers. And actually, our landing is the first time in human history that a private organization will land on another planet. So how did this all start? It started from what's called Google Lunar X Prize. Lunar is moon. Google and X Prize are two organizations that had a competition. They said the first one in the world to soft land on the moon, which means basically just not crashing. It has to travel 500 meters, take a selfie, and the first one to achieve that gets the prize of $20 million. So there started like many groups around the world, about 33 groups, if I remember correctly. And SpaceIL is one of them. But unfortunately, this competition is already been canceled because nobody could finish until the deadline that they gave. So nobody won the competition, but SpaceIL is keeping it's on track, and we're still headed for the moon with the contest and without the contest. So let's dive a little bit into our lunar mission, our technological mission. How are we going to do it? So our goals, we have three main technological goals. The first one is to picture the moon. We have 5 cameras and 1 selfie camera that will take a picture of us on the moon's surface. The second goal will be if we're already at the moon, so we want to take advantage of that and to conduct scientific research. So we're about to measure the moon's magnetic field. And our third goal is to transmit all that data back to Earth, to Israel, so we could use it. So in order to achieve these 3 goals, we have 4 main challenges: launch, navigation, and moon capture. Moon capture is the transition from orbiting Earth to orbiting the moon. We have a communication challenge and the landing. We'll dive in a little bit into each challenge. So the launch was on February 22 of February 2019, about a month ago, from Cape Canaveral, USA. And a launch is a very hard, complicated, and mostly expensive. Even more when you have to get to the moon, which is really, really far. So we went to the cheapest company there is, called SpaceX, and we were on board their Falcon 9 rocket. But that was still very expensive, and we could not afford it. So we just asked them, could we hitchhike with anybody? And they thought about it, and eventually they said yes. So we hitchhiked with a massive satellite, American satellite. But in order to hitchhike, we have to be 1, very, very small, and 2, very lightweight. So we designed our spacecraft to be tiny and very light. So our spacecraft was attached to the upper part of the rocket, and once we got to the altitude of about 700 kilometers, we detached from the rocket, just kind of got into Earth orbit. The second challenge is to navigate. How do you navigate to the moon? It's a hard challenge. I mean, how do we navigate on Earth? We use our GPS signal, right? We all use it all the time. So at first we thought, okay, so that's no problem. We'll just use GPS on our spacecraft. But it was a short while once we've understand that we go far beyond the GPS satellites and we have no reception at all. So that's not possible. So how do we still navigate to the moon? So we have 3 components that help us to deal with that challenge. The first one is called a sun sensor. A sun sensor, we all have it on our phones. It's the one that auto adjusts our brightness of our screen, right? We all have it. So we have 6 of those surrounding the spacecraft, so we can know where we are according to the sun. The second component we have is called an inertial measurement unit, or IMU, which is a very complicated small box that contains springs and weights, and it can tell us how much we've accelerated. Or in other words, if the spacecraft was a car, how much did we press on the gas pedal? So if we knew where we started, we knew how much we pushed the gas pedal, then we can know for certainty where we'll be in the future. And the third component is a star tracker. We have two of those, and they are cameras that look into deep space, and just like sailors in the 16th or 15th century, they know according to the stars where they are and where they're headed. So this is our orbit. We've launched into this white orbit around the Earth, and we're gonna give a boost with our engines and to get our orbit higher and higher and higher until we reach the moon's altitude, which is the white line. Once we've reached that, we will just wait. We'll wait until the moon comes by and we can capture it. The moon capture is a very serious and dangerous situation, which is happening right now in the simulation. Because if there's a problem in the moon capture, happens one of two things. Either we just crash land on the moon, or we just fly to a sun orbit and we leave Earth and we leave the moon, and that would be very sad. So I'll show that again. In the simulation, we can also see how the more the satellite gets higher, it has less speed, just like on a swing. And the more we go down, less high, we are more accelerated, we have more velocity. So this whole journey takes us about 2 months to get to the moon. That is a lot of time. Just for reference, the Apollo missions took 4 days because they had rockets that can take them all the way to the moon. They went straight, and we don't have that much money and resources, so we used the most inexpensive way, the most fuel-efficient way to get there. So our third challenge is communication. Why do we need communication? Well, for 3 things actually. One is we want to measure the distance from us to the spacecraft, and it can help us locate the satellite better, the spacecraft, Beresheet. The second thing is we can receive data. It tells us how hot it is, how cold it is, how much battery it has in its battery. All of this data is called telemetry. And according to the telemetry that I receive, I want to transmit commands like take a picture or start landing, and there are a variety of different commands that I can send. So what is another challenge in the communication? Well, if this was Earth or soccer ball, and Israel was on this side here, and the satellite would be here, then I would not have any line of sight, so I could not communicate with it. That is why we reached out to a company, and we connected to their network of antennas, which are worldwide. We have antennas in Australia and in Chile, South Africa, Hawaii, and more. And we use them during our missions, but that's not good enough. Why? Because once we get really, really far, these antennas are small, and we will not be able to pick up on the satellite. So we have an agreement with NASA that they lend us their DSN. DSN is a deep space network. These are huge antennas, about 70 meters wide. We have a simulation of them, like according to a football stadium. And they will help us in our further missions once we get to lunar orbit and during the landing. Okay, so we got to our fourth and final challenge, which is the landing. And I really, really hope that our landing will not be as this picture, because it is doomed for failure. Because if we would open our parachutes, which we do not have, but if we had, then it would just fall with us and crash with us. It wouldn't even open because there is no air and no atmosphere. So we just kind of used the same engines that got us there in order to brake and to land. We are going to land in a place called Sea of Serenity on the moon. Don't be confused. It's called a sea, but there's no water. And why did we pick this spot exactly? By the way, you can see our landing site with your eyes. Next time you watch the moon, when there's a full moon, you can see that there are kind of 3 black spots in a line, like a diagonal line. We're on the top one at the northern part. That's our landing site. It's called Sea of Serenity. And we chose this site for many reasons. The first one is safety. We want the surface to be flat, not with big rocks, and not in a steep. So what's better than Sea of Serenity, right? So we picked that. Second thing why it matches our demands is temperature. We do not want to land on the moon day, where it's really, really hot. And we don't want to land on the moon's night, where it's really, really cold, because we can't operate in these kind of temperatures for long. So we want to be somewhere in the middle, somewhere that we have light so we can charge our batteries, but it won't be too hot. So we picked a place that on our landing date will be at sunrise. It will be morning. Morning, and the moon lasts for a couple of days. And the third reason is communication. So the moon has 2 sides, not a light side and a dark side, rather a side that is always pointing towards Earth, and the other side that is always pointing against Earth. So of course we want to be on the side that is towards us so we could communicate. And the last thing is scientific significance. We've said that we want to measure the moon's magnetic field. So we need to land in a place where there is magnetic field, and there's not, it's not like on Earth where we have it everywhere. It's local magnetic field, so we want to be in a place that is magnetized. So this is how Beresheet looked like while it was in the building process. We'll go over the details in a minute. It is built in Israel, in Israel's space industry, which is near Tel Aviv. And here we can see Beresheet covered with thermal blankets that their purpose is to trap all the heat inside so we won't freeze. So let's go over a little bit about the specs. So our weight is about 580 kilograms, which is approximately 1,300 pounds. And before fueling, we were only 160 kilograms or 350 pounds, which is very, very lightweight. Our height is about this height. It's 5 feet tall, and the diameter of the circle is between 5 and 7 feet, depending on the legs, if they're deployed or not. So, on the upper part of our spacecraft, we have our solar panels, which during the whole mission will be always pointing towards the sun so we could charge our battery. We have an additional 2 secondary panels, which, can you guess why we need it? If you've been thinking about the moon surface part, then you are very, very right. After we land, the sun won't be above us. We said it will be a sunrise, so it will be a little bit above the skyline. So we need additional secondary panels. We have antennas that are across the spacecraft, so we could communicate it no matter what angle it is. And we have here, these are not eyes, it's high gain antennas, and they will help us during our surface stage when we'll be further out. Inside the spacecraft, we have 4 fueling tanks, which are actually 2 fueling tanks and 2 oxidizer tanks. These are 2 materials that once we put them together, they make a small spark and release a lot of energy, and that gives us our boost. And besides those 4 tanks, we have 1 additional tank, a helium tank, that its purpose is to make the fuel flow to the engine. Because here on Earth, it's easy, because we have our gravity and the fuel will always run to the engine because the engine is lower. But in space, where we have microgravity, so the fuel will just kind of float around in space and in the tank. So we have to make sure, we have to make it, force it, go down the tubes and into the engine. And that's why we have there helium pressurized in a tank, so we can pressure the fuel down. And we have our 4 legs. The cool part about the legs is that if I would take a knife and I would cut the leg to half, you would see that inside it's made like a honeycomb, and it has 2 reasons for that. The first one is that it makes us more lightweight, and the second part is that when we land until about a height of 5 meters, and then we have an engine cut off. We stop the engines and we just kind of free fall to the moon surface. So we want to keep the heart of the spacecraft alive. And so this honeycomb, it uses us as shock absorbers, so we can keep the main part safe. And the last part of the spacecraft is on the bottom. We have our main engine, which help us helps us do all the maneuvers that we saw, that we keep making our orbit bigger. And we use it in the landing. And we have 8 small engines that they keep us always oriented towards the sun. So
I just want to jump in really quickly because I know that we're itching to get some questions answered here. Right here, we have people about what's the oldest? So anybody, 13-year-olds, right? 14, terrific. And what she realized is you were 14 when the space mission started. So there could be people here in various places watching this. We'd love to hear your story. You know, what is your involvement here for those that might be interested in math or those that hate math?
I joined SpaceIL right after my military service, and I joined SpaceIL to the quality QA team, the quality assessment team, and we ran lots of tests. I won't go into all of them. Lots of tests. The main objective was to see that the spacecraft can handle the harsh space conditions. These are all tests. Today, my job is to be the driver of the satellite. We have in our mission control center, we have lots of people, lots of jobs, lots of expertise. And because we have only one shot at this, so we have to have all our people super experienced and knowing. So we have simulators that we all simulated extreme cases. So how I got to this SpaceIL, to working in SpaceIL. So I'll just get in a little bit further. So I was recruited to the Army, and I got into the satellite unit, the Israeli satellite unit, where I served 4 years. And only there did I hear about SpaceIL. And this small project very excited me. And I knew the moment that I heard about it, that once I finish my military service, I would go there. So I finished at the right time because I joined for like the last year or so of the project, and my experience in the satellite, so I could I could help in this great project. And the most thing that I connect to in SpaceIL is not even the lunar mission. The lunar mission is great, but it is not our main goal. Our main goal is to inspire young children for math, for science, for space, and to make you all enthusiastic about these subjects. So I noticed a very, very cool thing once I dived into SpaceIL. I looked at how it was formed. It was formed by 3 inexperienced engineers, Kfir, Yariv, and Jonathan. And Yariv just posted on Facebook who wants to go to the moon with me. And they all joined up, and a week later, they met in a pub in Israel, and that's the day SpaceIL was formed. And the cool thing about that is that they wrote their notes down, just like J.K. Rowling. So I took a look at those notes, and I saw that the math is not complicated at all. This is math that we all learn in high school. And I remember myself in high school, I hated learning math. I hated learning physics. I would come home and I would tell my parents, why do I need to learn this? And how will this help me in the future. But right now, when I remember that, I had no idea back then that what I was learning will help me land the first Israeli spacecraft on the moon. And that's crazy. So when I go to schools and I have a talk with them, the main idea and my main message is that once you get an assignment, if you get an assignment that you're not happy with and you don't want to do it, then wait a second, think about it twice, because maybe there you can learn whatever you need to get to your moon. And that's the main message for me to the students. And that's what helped me get into this crazy project and to help set the spacecraft and Beresheet get to the moon. So the upcoming events, our upcoming events is actually tomorrow. We have a very dangerous maneuver, which is the lunar capture maneuver that we talked about. It is about 4 p.m. Israel time. And next week on April 11th, we have our landing. So if you have any further questions, this is the time.
Terrific. Thank you, Nir. And so I have a few of them here that have been submitted. And if we can get to more of them, I know some of the groups might have to hop off, but thank you. It's great to hear from you. So you talked a little bit about what's coming up. What can we see? All around the world, we want to be a part of this here. What will we be able to see on April 11th?
So on April 11th, we can see we have just telemetry from the spacecraft, and it indicates the moment it gets to the surface, so we can see that. Unfortunately, pictures and videos we could see just a few hours later. But in Israel, the vibes are crazy, and people are very, very excited for this event. So it would be casted on TV and on social networks, and there are independent parties that are organized to celebrate this holiday, this Israeli holiday. And I welcome you to join that. Whether it's on social media or on online on the net.
Terrific. We have another question here that came in. So some of the schools are using some of the iCenter materials of a beautiful picture that Hanoch Piven, the Israeli artist, made of Ilan Ramon, Israel's first astronaut. And the question that's circulating is here. And so this question is for you from one of the third grade classes. What would you bring to space? They're very curious what you would bring, Nir.
So we actually have a time capsule on our spacecraft. On Beresheet, it has a time capsule with lots of Israeli culture icons. And I actually faced that question because I was offered to put in the CD an item. So I did have that question, and it went along with me for several weeks. And I chose to take 2 items on the Beresheet spacecraft. The first one is a picture of my family, and the second one is a picture of my grandparents after the Holocaust when they came to Israel. The first picture they took in Israel, I put it on the spacecraft, and it is now very close to the moon, and it will land in a week. So that's what I chose to send to the moon.
That's terrific. Thank you very much. So now I know that, as I said, some people have questions here, and if there's some questions there, you can just send somebody up in front of the camera so we can see them and hear them. I'm just quickly glancing through all the photos there, and we'll just take as many as we can, popcorn style. Does anybody have a question here? you have a question? All right, can you come around here? Live in Dallas.
Okay.
If you can just say who you
Hi.
are.
Hey.
Two questions. First off, what causes the orbit of the spacecraft around Earth to be like an oval? And second off, how long will the spacecraft be active on the moon, considering the high temperatures of the moon on the day?
Great questions. So Avi, the first answer to what makes is it correct? What makes the orbit around Earth elliptical, right?
Yes.
So actually, it's physics. We can control that. Each satellite and orbiting object orbits in elliptic circles. The Earth orbits in elliptic around the Sun, and the Moon around the Earth, etc. And the second question is how much time will Beresheet be operational on the lunar surface? As long as we can. We will stay there for a few days, between 3 and 5 days, until it be too hot and the spacecraft will be not working. It will look fine. It will be okay. It will be there for as a symbol of Israeli achievements, but it will not be operational. About 3 to 5 days. We don't know exactly.
Great. Thank you. And do we have any other questions from other communities out there? Glancing through. All right, we'll take another question from here. One actually just came in by text. What are the future plans for SpaceIL?
So actually, we are now more than ever focused on the moon, and it's hard to have like more plans to the future, but there might be, and doesn't depend on the moon mission. SpaceIL Educational Center will be still operational for years to come, and we might go to Mars in a few years. I hope so.
Awesome. Well, the Eye Center is going to be there with you for the educational part of it. And what's next for you?
So actually, I want to get my degree. I don't have a degree yet, and I want to be a medical doctor. And I hope someday medical doctor and space will collaborate, and I could be kind of a space doctor. It's not that crazy. It's going there, but I hope it will get there soon.
All right. Well, like Yariv and the other co-founders dreamt and created, that you could do that too. All right. We have a question here.
Hi, my name is Jordan. How much money did it cost to make it?
So the whole project, you're into business, right?
No.
So the whole project is about $100 million, which sounds a lot, but for space missions, it's very, very low cost.
And also, what made you want to name it Beresheet?
So actually, we did not name it. We opened it up to the crowd, and they picked the name, and I think it's a great name. Beresheet is Genesis in Hebrew, and it means in the beginning. And we really hope this is the beginning of a new age where Israel will send a lot more of spacecraft to space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looking out there, are there other communities there? Have any questions there? Glancing through. I know we have some more here. We do have one from one of the rabbis that's on the call here, and the question is, can you talk about what this means for Jews, for lovers of Israel, that Israel is achieving this amazing feat?
Yes. So we found out, it was not our intentional goal, but we found out that this connects Israelis and Jews around the world surrounding this main event, that it is pure fun and and I forgot the word. It's fun, and it's enthusiastic, and people are very psyched about it, and it kind of connects everybody around the world, just like we're connected now, and a lot more happened in the past, and I believe that a lot more will happen in the future. Connects Israel to the Jews that live outside of Israel. Can't hear you.
Sorry, you have me speechless. We clearly have another question right here. I want to get to that. Again, I just want to keep looking back at our other communities. I don't see anybody standing up there, so we'll head over to, what's your name?
My name is Ellie.
Ellie.
What convinced you to come to the space project in the first place?
Good question.
Yes, that is a great question. I actually was it excited me most of all. Space excited me since I was a small kid. I read about I got a lot of space like newsletters and papers. So once I got into the Israeli military satellite and space unit, I was psyched, and it was one of my childhood dreams. So that's what got me into that.
All right, terrific. Thank you. Anyone else out there? Anyone else? Going to keep surveying through. All right. We have time for a few more questions here. I'm going to keep glancing. If I just see someone up in front of the camera, we'll pass it to you. You had your hand up there, so we'll take these three and different things. You want to come on up? Oh, yes. Okay, we'll grab you. So sorry, we won't be able to get to everybody there, but I want to keep it as fair as possible.
Hi, I'm Kobe.
Hi, Kobe.
Is there anybody on it?
So no, the spacecraft is an unmanned spacecraft. There are no astronauts. Maybe later on you'll be a Jewish astronaut.
All right. Thank you. Do you want to come on up? Here, we'll grab you. You can come on up, and we'll grab you as well here.
Can I go?
We have one coming. We have someone coming here.
No problem.
Hi, I'm Emma.
Hey, Emma.
Okay, so I remember you said that there was like a thing where you could win $20 million, but there was but there was a due date, but you couldn't get it by the due date. What was the due date?
The due date was about 2016.
Oh. Okay.
See, it's a good lesson that you have to get your stuff in by the due date, right? That's the moral of this story.
One of the morals.
But now, if I'm not mistaken, there's a new prize on the table, right? When they land, there's $1 million prize.
Yes.
Right?
There's $1 million prize, but there's no contest. It's just like
Yeah. Great.
out of courtesy.
All right, you've been holding up your hand. We got one over here.
Hello, so I'm Mordechai. So when do you think we will be able, Israel will be able to send rockets out into space and land without any help hitchhiking and other items like that?
That's a good question. So first of all, Israel can get to space independently, and she does that mostly with its military products. So we can do it. And when will Israel be able to land by itself on another planet? Well, actually, she can now. It depends on how much money and effort you want to put into that. So I hope our project will, the hype of this project will get everybody super excited, and it will make that date much earlier. But I can't tell right now exactly when that will be. When we decide.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Awesome. Thank you very much. You want to come on up? So I know that some groups may have to leave. If you have the time, Nir, we'd love to go to at least the end of the hour here when we have everybody here, and we'll just get as many questions as possible. Will that work? Terrific.
My name's Maggie, and do you know what you're planning on doing next?
Me, Nir, right?
I bet
Or SpaceIL.
SpaceIL.
Okay. So SpaceIL right now, as I said, is 100% focused on the moon landing. Currently, we do not have a second project or SpaceIL 2 or anything. I hope there will be, but even if there will, it will be like we'll figure it out what that mission will be just after the landing. So right now, there's no second goal. But as I said, SpaceIL will keep running, just not its engineerical part, but its educational part. We'll keep on doing seminars just like this, and we'll keep on going to Israeli schools and to have talks with them about this subject and everything.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question. Thank you very much. I'm going to quickly glance as we have another one right behind me here. Just want to make sure that there's anyone else. All right. Looks good. Looks good. Come on up.
Hi, my name's Lily, and so I remember you said something about after the contest, after the due date was over, like after you missed it, you still went through with this process. Did any other countries do that too, or just Israel?
Okay. So actually, there was a due date, and then they gave another year, and nobody finished it, and they gave another year, and nobody finished it, and then they said, okay, we cancel it all. So until that point where the last cancellation was, we got 5 groups to that point. We had to have a launch signed already, a launch contract signed. Just 5 groups out of the 33 came to the finals. And once the contest ended, so also the connection between the groups ended. So right now, I actually don't know where the other groups are. SpaceIL kept on continuing because our goal wasn't actually the prize. It was just the starter. You know, the goal was very quickly. We realized that our mission is to educate young children. So that's why the contest didn't matter for us. So.
Thanks.
Terrific. It's a terrific example of that Israeli mentality. We're gonna create what wasn't there, and we're gonna keep going. I love it.
Yes, exactly.
My name's Shahar. I want to know, what technology did you use to build Beresheet?
We used space technology. Israel is not. This is not the first time Israel has gone to space, right? Israel has gone to space for since the early 2000s, even a bit earlier, and we use the same Israeli aerospace industries. They are very professional, and they built a lot of satellites, and we use the same technology there for our Beresheet, with things that haven't been done in Israel until now, like moon capture and landing. These are technologies that we had to make, and we had to develop out of ideas and thin air, basically. But most of the things, we took things that we already knew that work, and we tried them out in space before.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have one. Who's number 3 there? We had one more. Why don't you come on up here? We could be here for hours, of course.
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I was wondering what would happen if the moon's orbit around Earth shrunk? Like, what if the moon got closer to Earth?
So if the moon had gone closer to Earth, wow, that would have a lot of side effects. But I don't know all of them. I'll check that. And if you really want to, I'll give me your email and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Awesome. And what's great is, so we also have a series coming out. I mentioned it to people here and also in various places. We have a series coming out where we asked Kafir Damari, one of the co-founders, a series of questions. And there's no reason why we can't continue to grab questions and hopefully grab some of your time. Well, we know that tomorrow with Beresheet entering the lunar orbit and then a week later landing, it's going to be very busy for you. But
Yes.
but we're very, very excited. And you know, when we met you at the launch, we met your father at the launch. The iCenter was at Cape Canaveral watching the launch. Your father was very proud of you and talking all about you, and which is how we got connected. And thank you so much for being here. And I know I can say by all the questions here and the questions we're getting here that we're all very proud of you, and we're very proud of SpaceIL and Beresheet. And we are very excited to watch this April 11th. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll see you at the launch. So everybody at home, make sure that you follow us, the iCenter or SpaceIL, and we'll bring you as much of the launch as possible. Maybe we can get a little cameo from you. All right, terrific.
I hope so.
Thank you very much. Pedro, bye.
Bye-bye.